Smokes are vital to Valorant, and understanding how to maximize the value you get from smokes is the easiest way to climb in Valorant. This video will be discussing how your smokes are losing you games and how to fix it. The first reason your smokes are losing you games is you don't use your smokes to impact the game outside of denying angles. What I mean by this is you only smoke the default angles and think that's all smoke characters are capable of. However, controllers are called controllers for a reason, this being their ability to get this control the map. So learning how to use the lurk smokes to deny information, make plays, and make enemies scared to rotate are key to quickly climbing and impacting games as a controller. Some examples of this are as an attacker smoking deep at an entrance of Long C on Haven, and this will then give you the ability to walk through the edge of the smoke and reduce the angles you have to clear. It also makes it harder for the enemy to hold because the one angle that they would normally be watching suddenly becomes a whole bunch of angles because you could pop out of anywhere on the smoke. Additionally, once you do this once or twice, the enemy will be scared and call for rotates, or they won't rotate when they should, simply because of the threat of you being inside of that lurk smoke regardless whether you're actually there or not. Another example is smoking mid on Icebox just before the entrance to go under the tube. This denies the enemy the ability to see if attackers are rotating between the sites and allows you to safely walk up tube, walk through the smoke into mid, or walk under the tube. Additionally, enemies will be forced to watch kitchen and under tube from B site because their mid player can't watch it for them. This will make pushing B much easier because defenders have to split their attention, and if they don't, you can just shoot them in the back, so win-win situation. The second reason your smokes are losing you games is you only smoke the standard map choke points and never use smokes to get aggressive on defense. Using smokes to get aggressive on defense allows controller agents to make an impact of the game by switching up the pace of the game to catch enemies off guard. Additionally, it also enables teams to gather information on where the enemy is or isn't, and that will then enable them to rotate to other sites. This is actually commonly used in pro play on Haven on A long to stop pushes. You'll notice if you watch it, there's either a mixture of fade and raise grenade utility thrown out, or maybe it'll be a breach and cuss and a raise grenade, something like that. They generally peak with a flash or a smoke as well. And it just makes it a lot easier for them rather than having to sit back and be scared about them sneaking up sewers and long. They can have one person get control of A long and then rotate off. Another example of using smokes to get aggressive on defense is the use of one-way smokes. So one-way smokes are designed to give you the ability to see the enemy team before they can see you. Generally, this will be a smoke that's a bit off the ground on an angle that allows you to see the enemy's feet, whereas they can't see you at all. Now, this makes it extremely difficult for the enemy team to push when your smokes are activated, which will run down the clock, making the enemy team panic, particularly in lower elos. The third reason your smokes are losing you games is you give the enemy control of the site with your smokes. So as an attacker, the goal of smoking a site is to reduce the angles enemies can shoot you from and make it harder for them to rotate onto the site to help their teammates. With this in mind, in theory it makes sense to, for example, split B side of bind in half because it removes the majority of defenders' angles. However, in practice, smoking off half the site means you can't take full control of the site, which makes it extremely difficult to hold it in an after-plant situation, as technically the defender still holds the site, and all you can really do is plant the bomb and just hope you can run away and not get killed. The fourth reason your smokes are losing you games is because you smoke incorrectly on retakes. When defending, you need to save your smokes in case you need to retake a site. This will allow you to smoke off common angles and make it harder for the enemy team to defend the bomb. It is better to smoke the spike, particularly if you have teammates. If you smoke the attackers off, your teammates can't see them, but the attackers can still ping the spike and then spray through it, making it much more likely for them to win. However, if you smoke the spike, the diffuser is hidden and your teammates can see the attack and making it much more likely that the defenders will win. The fifth reason your smokes are losing you games is you're too far away to smoke key points of the map. As mentioned earlier, your role as a controller is to control the map. When the enemy is pushing a site, you need to smoke it off to help your team. However, if you're too far away, you won't be able to do this in time. So to solve this, you should play somewhere where it's central to the site, particularly if you're playing a character like Brimstone. For example, on Haven there are 3 sides, and if you're on C side, you won't be able to smoke A main. However, if you were to hold on B side, you'd be able to reach all 3 key points of the map. The sixth reason your smokes are losing you games is you smoke too quickly and use all your smokes early on in a round. Now this is a big issue, particularly in low elos, as a lot of people tend to just rush out, so people will throw all their util out. But then once the enemy stops just all rushing out at once, or maybe you climb to a bit higher elo and they learn to pace their utility, you're suddenly just not going to have smokes anymore when they do end up pushing. And as a defender, people will smoke chokes off before the attackers are even pushing, or as an attacker, they will use their smokes before their team is pushing. Generally, it's just a case of communicating if you're an attacker to make sure that your team's actually ready to go or being aware of the fact that if they have a sage on site, they're going to slow and then your team's not going to want to push. Or maybe if they haven't used their smokes yet, when they do smoke, your team's likely not going to want to run through it because it's just really difficult for them. So then discussing with your team, you know, if you're all going to run out at once, regardless of whether they use util or whether maybe you want to try and use a bit of util and bait some stuff out first. And as a defender, generally it's just having someone that is either communicating any sounds they hear or having a character that can use utility to get information like a Sova or a Fade or a Sky, and then using that to be able to communicate whether you need to smoke or not. The 7th reason your smokes are losing you games is you don't properly smoke off key points. Now lots of people don't take into account the smokes are circular, and although the UM might make it seem like the smokes properly cover the angle, in reality there are gaps the enemy can use to see over or around the smokes. Now, this is an easy fix. All you need to do is just make a conscious effort to adjust your smokes when you do make mistakes. And also, when you do notice that you've made a mistake, just make your teammates aware of it so that they actually know there's a gap in the smoke and aren't just having blind faith that that smoke will protect them. This leads into the 8th and final reason your smokes are losing you games, and that's that your smokes stick too far out, letting the enemy sneak out. I mentioned using the lurk smokes to reduce the number of angles you have to peek when pushing a site earlier. However, this works both ways, in that if your smoke sticks out too far from the edge of the map, the enemies can walk out of it and reduce the number of angles they need to peek, making it easier for them to get aggressive. The simple fix to this is being aware of the fact that there is a possibility that an enemy can walk out, and if say you're the person that's at the back of the pack that's pushing, just keep an eye on it because they're going to be facing other angles. Whereas you're in the back, all you're really looking at is just the back of your teammates anyway. So if you're just already pre-aiming, expecting somebody to walk out, you can be prepared for that to happen. And then just in the future, just be aware that the smoke that you did use, you know, was a little too far forward. So the next time you just bring it back a bit, or, you know, maybe it's the reverse, maybe it's too far back, you bring it forward. Anyway, if you guys found any of these tips useful, please leave a comment below letting me know. And if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.